Welcome back to Life, the Universe and Me. It's the chance to think about and discuss life's stupidly big and difficult questions. Last time we asked about right and wrong. Where do our ethical instincts come from? It turns out that most of those instincts somehow or other derive from the Bible, the Ten Commandments and the words of Jesus. But we may also have seen that a rejection of God, or a God, a rejection of an absolute authority, also leads to a very troubling rejection of any ethical certainty. Why be good? What even is good if there is no arbiter? We end up, with Nietzsche, in a terrifying world where power dictates ethics. Like I said, they are stupidly big questions, but if you don't try to answer them, you'll never know if you can. This is session 4. What happens when I die? And to get us going on an only slightly morbid question, when you die, what would you like to be done with your body? And more importantly, why? In every culture and throughout history, people take death rituals very seriously. Some people go for building a pyramid and taking their worldly wealth and all their still alive wives and servants with them. Others get chopped up and fed to vultures. That's what is known as a Tibetan sky burial. Some say, when it's over, it's over. Take me away in a bin bag. Others think it's never over and get cryogenically frozen. What would you like to be done with your body when you die? Pyramids, vultures, bin bag, freezing, or whatever is coming to mind for you. What do each of these things say about different people's beliefs concerning the afterlife? Take a pause to think and discuss. Let's move on from how people do or don't prepare for an afterlife to think about what some people have or haven't experienced of an afterlife, even while they are still very much part of this life. Here's the first question while we're on this line of thought. What do you make of people's reports of near-death experiences? People who've had near-death experiences report remarkably similar things. Floating out-of-body experiences, being in a dark tunnel and needing to head towards the light, feelings of connectedness to the world around them, and visions of a heavenly world. Is there something in these experiences, or are they just the hallucinations of a dying brain? But if we want to brush them aside and say just the hallucinations of a dying brain, then why are different people's near-death experiences so similar? There's no reason for them to be, and yet they are. So what do you make of people's reports of near-death experiences? While we're on the subject of people's experiences of an afterlife, even while they're very much alive, here's a second question on this line of thought. Seance, fake or real? This is a bit of a taboo subject for some people because trying to communicate with the dead is so completely forbidden in the Bible. But having said that, mediums and spiritualists communicating with the dead are as old as history and still around today. The Bible recounts King Saul consulting the witch of Endor, who summoned Samuel to talk to him. Samuel rebukes Saul for disturbing the dead, and the Bible's verdict is this: Saul died because he was unfaithful to the Lord and even consulted a medium for guidance. So whilst being condemned, this kind of seance is taken very seriously by the Bible, and taken very seriously by those who still do it today. But what do you think? Fake or real? This kind of evidence that we've been considering in the last two questions is what you might call unrepeatable evidence. It's happened, but it won't be the same next time. There are also plenty of other kinds of evidence. So let's consider how we know what we say we know. There is scientific or theoretical or repeatable evidence. In our culture, we love theoretical evidence. Experience, apples fall. Theory, gravity. Prediction, the movement of the planets. It's repeatable. Gravity always works the same. It's one kind of evidence. Another example would be fact. Without blood circulating, our organs get no oxygen, so we die. That's why we do CPR until we start it again. That's scientific information. Another kind of evidence is statistical evidence. 1 in 65 births in the UK are twins, so hospitals prepare for that. It doesn't always work out that way, but on average it does. It's unrepeatable, as the next study may come up with a slightly different number. But if the sample size is large enough, the number will always be nearly the same if the conditions are the same. Another example. Here's my undertaker saying, I don't know how or why, but I do know that 100% of people die. A third kind of evidence is private experience. If you trust the source, then you can trust the evidence. But if the speaker is lying, you'll be led astray. For example, I brushed my teeth this morning. I know it's true, but I can't prove it to you. This is like our near-death experiences. The poor, mangled, nearly dead person says, I saw a tunnel and headed towards the light before I came back. No one can prove it. But do you trust the speaker? And finally, there is public experience. The River Thames used to freeze over. People drew pictures and wrote about it. But without their records, we'd never know it today. Similarly, John's Gospel records Jesus bringing Lazarus back from the dead. Did it happen? Well, John saw it and wrote it down. That would be like private experience, except for the fact that John's Gospel has never been discredited as a false source. On the contrary, many others at the time also saw what happened, and they accepted it as a reliable source. So now, like the Thames freezing over, it's something that doesn't happen now, but it's a matter of public record that it did happen. So finally, here's the question. What value do you attach to these different kinds of unrepeatable evidence? My next question is this. Is it worth preparing for an afterlife? This is a risk and reward question. Discounting the possibility of an afterlife allows you to live as you see fit in this life. No judgment, no accountability. Do what you like, live how you like. But it's a high-stakes game. If there is no afterlife, then nothing lost. But if there is one, and our beliefs and the choices we make now impact our eternal future, then why wouldn't we make sure we believe the right things and make the right choices now? There is a small potential loss for a massive eternal gain. We risk our own autonomy and we restrict our life choices now in the expectation of a perfect and eternal life in the future. This is called Pascal's wager, after Blaise Pascal, the 17th century French philosopher. Small potential loss of doing whatever I want now in the hope of a massive eternal gain. What do you think? And my final question for this session. Are you preparing for your own death and what may or may not happen next? Christian faith suggests that after death we will be raised bodily to life and then be judged by God. It suggests that we will all find that we have fallen short of the perfection required for heaven. So we are all invited to prepare now by accepting the offer of Jesus to gift us his perfection. Even now we can be seen by God as perfect and ready for heaven when our time comes. But there is a cost, because believing in Jesus for his gift also means believing in Jesus when he talks about lifestyles and ethics and worship. Back to Pascal's wager. Is it worth it? Are you preparing for your own death and what may or may not happen next? So far in this series, I've asked an awful lot of questions and have only given a small number of answers. In the next session, we're going to start looking at some of the Christian answers to some of these questions that I've been asking.